Hey there. So, every single time you turn on your tap for a glass of water, you're placing your trust in this invisible process, right? A process that's working behind the scenes to keep you safe. Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on one of the most critical steps in all of public health: breakpoint chlorination. This is the hidden science that makes sure your water isn't just clear, but actually pure.
I mean, really think about it. The water pouring from your faucet, it looks crystal clear, right? But what does that clarity really mean? You see, the biggest threats to our health are microscopic. They're totally invisible. So the real question is, how in the world do you fight an enemy you can't even see? All right, let's get into it. The invisible threat. We're asking, what's hiding in plain sight? Before water ever gets to a treatment plant, it's been out there, in rivers, lakes, reservoirs, just mixing with the natural world. And look, nature is amazing, but it's also full of stuff we definitely don't want to be drinking.
And we're talking about a whole list of unwelcome guests here. You've got your usual suspects, right? Bacteria, viruses, and other pathogens that can make us really, really sick. But it's not just the living stuff. It's also things like ammonia and organic matter from, say, decaying plants. And that stuff can actually get in the way of the whole cleaning process. Okay, so to fight these invisible bad guys, water treatment plants call in a hero: chlorine. I mean, for more than 100 years, chlorine has been the go-to chemical disinfectant, a super powerful agent on a mission to hunt down and neutralize these hidden dangers long before they have a chance to hurt anyone.
Now, it's not as simple as just, dumping in a splash of chlorine. The very first thing we have to get our heads around is a concept called chlorine demand. Here's a great way to think about it. Before you can guard a room, you have to clean it first, right? Well, chlorine demand is basically the amount of chlorine that gets used up just doing that initial cleanup. It's reacting with all the bacteria, the ammonia, and all that other gunk in the water. And that brings us right to the heart of it all, reaching the break point. This is the step-by-step journey to purity. It's this super precise, multi-stage chemical reaction. The goal? First, you got to satisfy that chlorine demand we just talked about, and then you can set up a lasting defense for the water. So let's walk through it. Okay, so let's follow the play-by-play. Stage 1, chlorine gets added and immediately goes to work, taking out the easy targets like iron and manganese. Boom. Stage 2, now it starts to bind with ammonia, and this creates something called combined chlorine, or chloramines. Think of these guys as kind of like a part-time, not-so-strong security force. They do some good, but it's not the end goal. Then comes stage 3, the big one, the break point. We keep adding more chlorine, and this is where the magic happens. The new chlorine actually starts destroying the weaker chloramines it just created. It's wild. Once that battle is won and all the other junk is oxidized, the chlorine demand is finally met. And that, my friends, leads us to stage 4, creating free chlorine. Any chlorine added after this point becomes our elite, powerful, fast-acting guardian. So, hitting that break point, that's not the finish line. Nope. It's actually the starting line for true safety. What happens after that critical moment? Well, that's what guarantees our water stays pure long after it's left the treatment plant. This actually clears up a huge misconception a lot of people have. You know that really strong chlorine smell you sometimes get at a swimming pool? Guess what? That's not what you think it is. That's actually the smell of combined chlorine, the weaker stuff that's formed before the break point. The real hero of our story is free chlorine. It's a strong, fast-acting disinfectant. It's the true measure of safe water, and it only hangs around after the break point has been reached. That's the stuff you want. So here's the key takeaway. Water engineers aren't just guessing here. This is a science. They carefully add chlorine until they hit that breakpoint, and then they keep going just a little bit more until they get a very specific concentration of that free chlorine. We're talking about a target range of about 0.5 to 2.0 parts per million. Now, that might sound like a weird number, but to put it in perspective, 1 part per million is like one single drop of water in a 13-gallon fish tank. It's a tiny, tiny amount that has this massive protective power. So why is that leftover bit, that residual, so incredibly important? Well, think about it. The water's journey isn't done when it leaves the plant, not even close. It has to travel, sometimes for miles and miles, through this huge, complex network of underground pipes to get to our neighborhoods, our schools, and right into our homes. And that is its mission. That free chlorine residual is the guardian. It's an active shield that travels with the water on that whole long journey. So if any new nasty stuff somehow gets into the pipes along the way, that residual chlorine is right there, on the spot, ready to neutralize it instantly.
It's the guarantee that the water pouring from your tap is just as safe as it was the moment it left the plant. Look, this isn't just some good idea. It is an absolute cornerstone of public health. Experts will tell you flat out that the presence of a free chlorine residual is the single most important indicator that water is microbiologically safe. It's a really simple test that confirms a very complex and life-saving process is working perfectly. So, the next time you go to the sink and pour a simple glass of water, maybe just take a second to think about the incredible, invisible science that made it safe to drink. Kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other invisible systems, what unseen guardians are out there working all around us, protecting us every single day?